Hello! Welcome to my corner of my bedroom where I have my bike. I have a nice upright bike, and what I'm going to do is just talk to you a little bit about doing intervals. So I'm going to go ahead and start my timer here. I have a nice little timer on here, which comes in really handy when doing intervals. I am wearing purple today to signify the fact that I am boosting. So I'm going to do some boosting intervals, which aren't much different than buffing, but the thing is that cardio can become very difficult to do when you're boosting. You just don't want to do it. A lot of times you don't have the mental fortitude to make yourself push really hard, and a lot of times you don't feel like doing much less any workout, much less something that's torturous. So the key thing to remember when you're boosting is every little bit counts. Your body actually prefers using fat for fuel during exercise when you are in the boosting phase. So the cool thing about that is our hormones are causing us to burn more fat during the boosting phase when we do cardio. So the cool thing is to know that every little bit that you do does count, and it is very effective. So just try to make yourself do it at the bare minimum. Try not to go backwards in your fitness by completely skipping your cardio for 2 weeks. It's not good. You're going to lose fitness, and then when you come to your buffing phase, you want to be even in shape enough to really make your buffing phase effective. So my goal during boosting is to at least get 3 somewhat cardio sessions in, at least 2 of those rather intense intervals. And I like doing intervals because time goes by so much easier. So as I'm sitting here, it's been about 2 minutes, and what we're going to do is make sure that you do a good warm-up before you actually really start in on trying to push yourself hard on your intervals. Something that's very interesting to me in regards to interval training is that before you're warmed up, it actually feels more difficult to do the interval. So for example, what I'm saying here is that your very first interval often feels horrible. You don't feel fast, you don't feel strong. I'd call it, similar to the second wind that a runner gets. Once you hit about 10 minutes into it, once you get into a certain amount of shape, you're going to find that you're going to be able to push harder on those intervals than you were on maybe the first couple intervals. So typically what I do for my clients and for my workouts is I tell them to do 4-minute warm-up, and then from there do even minute intervals, or do where you do 2 minutes harder, 1 minute easy, 2 minutes harder, 1 minute easy. And that's what we're going to do today, is a 2 minutes harder, 1 minute easier. Since it's boosting, that means that the hard minutes don't have to be quite as hard as they would be during buffing. So, and also, since we are more in a fat burning mode, doing more of a steadier cardio interval, more in the aerobic mode, actually is going to burn a lot of fat for us right now. And we have high hormones towards building muscle, so we don't have to worry about doing intervals as many intervals to really stimulate testosterone. During buffing, the mentality is to do harder, faster sprints to really help stimulate testosterone during that time when our hormones are lower. So there's, it's not like anything that you do is wrong. It's just to accelerate your results, you can do certain things at certain times to get different results. So what I'm just trying to teach you is that during boosting, it's not always about killing yourself. So it's just about doing it, just getting it done, just not going backwards. Okay, so now it's 4 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and increase the resistance. Now, on interval training, you can increase your difficulty by several different things. But, like for instance, on the bike, you can increase your resistance, basically keep the same pace that you were doing before for your interval, and increase the pace, or you can increase your speed, like, just pedaling faster, have the RPMs up faster, things like that. So you have your choice of increasing speed or increasing pace, or increasing resistance. I chose to do both kind of. I started off actually rather high on the resistance. My husband must have been using this bike because I don't typically ride it that hard. Alright, we're already 1 minute in an interval. At this point, halfway through, you should really start feeling it. You should be like, okay, when is this interval going to be done? I'm feeling a little bit of lactic acid. Of course, my heart rate is up. I could test my heart rate on these little heart rate gripper things. And you see where your heart rate is at. And if you're in the zone where you want to be working, if you're not, you might want to increase your pace a little bit, increase your resistance a little bit. You can also check your pulse and count it for 6 seconds and then multiply by 10, and that gives you a good base for where your heart rate's at. So let's say 6 seconds, 3, 4. So that said 14 beats. So right around 140 is where I'm at. Now, where your heart rate is depends on a lot of things. Your age, what your resting heart rate is. And for me, my resting heart rate is really low. So 140, especially on the bike, is rather good. All right, so now I've finished that 2-minute interval. So I'm going to lower my resistance, lower my speed. Focus is to recover enough so that I can do another 2-minute interval. So I should have a water here. Take a drip of water. Just keep moving. Keep that heart rate going, but let it slow down. So that's what we're doing here. My breathing under control. Now as you're breathing, realize that you don't have to breathe out of just your nose. You can breathe out of your nose and your mouth at the same time. That's the most effective way to get air into your body, is both through your nose and your mouth. So realize that's how you do it, okay? So, all right, we're ready for interval number 2 of 2 minutes. We're already 7 minutes in. So if you're thinking, okay, we're a third done, over a third done, because we're just going to go for 20 minutes. And then you think, man, you know what? This isn't quite so bad. I'm going to be done here in another 10 minutes or so, just a little bit more, like 13 minutes from now, 12 minutes from now, I'll be all done. So it kind of gets nice when you only have to do 20 minutes of cardio, and it's worth, pushing a little harder for those minutes. So once again, about halfway through this interval, really starting to feel it, starting to work up a sweat. Should have water, and they should have a towel. So try to make sure you have those before you start. Videotaping just really throws a kink in everything. Now, when you're riding a bike, upright bike, you think of spinning. So this is just an upright bike, but it has the handles where you can bend forward. And on this, I like to bend forward and really work my glutes sometimes. So beyond changing your intensity or your resistance level or your pace, you can also change position. You can bend forward, really focusing on a different muscle group. Like this will focus a little bit more on my glutes. I can sit up nice and tall, and I could focus more on my quads with this movement. I have foot straps, so I can actually pull up on the pedals and work my hip flexors and my quads a little bit more. And of course, you can try videotaping yourself and talking while you're doing intervals, and you'll see it become tremendously more difficult. Okay, so that's just a little bit into how to do intervals. We're coming up on 10 minutes here, and I don't like to go on and on and on in my videos, but this just gives you a little bit of idea of how to do some intervals on an upright bike, and some of the thoughts and tidbits that come